Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Grace Lauren Taylor, and you are listening to episode 59 of the Trauma Dump Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Here at the Trauma Dump Podcast, we seek to answer the question, what is mental health? How do I take care of my own, and how do I support others? This week, we'll be discussing the topic of healing trauma with animals, with our furry friends. And we're going to be discussing this topic with our very special guest of the week, Karlonty Wallace. You can go check out Karlonty Wallace over on Instagram. It is at Karlonty Wallace, which is at KARLONTY_WALLACE. Karlonty is an advocate for healing and empowerment. Her journey began in the nurturing environment of a home daycare, which then grew into a bustling operation. However, the demands eventually led to a health setback, prompting her to explore her true calling. She founded Pawsative Partnerships LLC with a specific mission to help women of faith heal from trauma. Their approach is quite unique, leveraging the healing power of the human-canine bond. They also encourage professional therapy as an integral part of the healing journey. Karlonty's educational background includes an associate's degree in marketing sales management from James A. Rhodes State College, which equips her with the skills to make a difference. At Pawsative Partnerships LLC, they are committed to nurturing and empowering women on their path to healing, strength, and resilience. Make sure you go check out them. I will put links in the description and support them for being on this episode. And remember, if you'd like to share on the show, please message us in our Discord in the podcast participants channel, along with your unique experiences, and we will match you to the right episode. We also have an email that is thetraumadump@gmail.com if you want more professional connection with me. Hey, and just a quick disclaimer before we start. I am not a licensed health professional. This podcast only seeks to create community and further understanding of these topics that are so often overlooked and extremely misunderstood. If you or a loved one are in need of medical professional help, we have resources in our descriptions. The topics discussed here are for a mature audience, so viewer discretion is always advised. And this is my service dog, Gigi. Gigi, say hi. You say hi? She says hi. Gigi has been my service dog for almost 8 years. She is a seizure alert service dog. If you're watching us on YouTube, I picked her up so you can see her. And I'm going to pick up Mochi now. Mochi is not a service dog, but she's pretty great too. If you've been watching the podcast for a while, you've seen Mochi when she was really small. You can hear me struggling. She is so heavy. Oh my God. I think she's like almost 55 pounds. But yeah, I have 2 dogs. I have a service dog and I have Mochi. Dogs have always been integral to my own healing journey. I grew up with dogs. I once had 6 dogs at one time when I was growing up. Dogs are amazing. The way that they can emotionally connect with their owners, it's really healing because dogs do know when you're suffering, and they love so unconditionally. So I do agree that dogs really do provide a sense of healing and resilience. And if you're liking what we're doing here on the podcast, please hit that like button and hit subscribe if you're watching us over on YouTube. And please, if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, rate the show. That really helps us out a lot, helping the podcast get out to more people who may need it. And if you like this podcast so much, please share it with your friends. That also really helps us out a lot. Any support helps. So if you feel compelled to, like, subscribe, and share the show. All right, let's get into this episode. Hello, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Oh my goodness. It's so nice to
Yay.
meet you. Please introduce yourself to our audience. Who are you? Where can we
Oh,
find you?
okay. All right. My name is Karlonty Wallace, and I am the owner of Pawsative Partnerships LLC. And we are here to help women of faith heal by using dogs and fur babies as tools. Actually, we also are encouraging them to seek out professional therapists as well. You can always find me on, all the social medias for sure. But our website is pause pausepartnerships.com. And I look forward to greeting you.
Yeah, and I will be putting the link in the description for those that just want to click onto there. You can do it as a link in our description. So just a little like getting into who you are, I just wanted to first get that disclaimer. Are you comfortable with discussing your personal experiences?
I am today. Yes.
Okay, awesome. To make sure that I'm not crossing any of your boundaries and respecting your experiences, please feel free to interrupt me at any time. If you don't
Okay.
want to answer a question, just let me know and we'll skip it, okay?
Sounds great.
Amazing. So, our episode, we're going to be talking about you and your journey on how you discovered like healing your trauma with animals. But we got to get some background on you,
Okay.
Miss Ma'am. Beautiful. I love the background, by the way. It looks so professional.
Oh, well, thank you. I was trying to be as professional as I possibly could today.
I think it looks great.
Thank
Okay.
you.
My first question would be, can you share a little bit about your family background and the nature of the trauma that you experienced?
Okay, I'll be glad to. I was raised up an only child with my mother. I was born in Florida and up in Ohio. As all children, you always want to know who your father is, your father's side of the family, and those kind of things. So I had the opportunity to get to know my father, but we didn't have a real relationship in the beginning. Just towards the end of his life, I was able to spend a lot of more time with him over the phone and get a chance to visit every now and then. So basically, like I said, I went to school from kindergarten all way up to I did do 2 years and got my associate's degree here in Ohio. So that's a little bit about your girl.
Okay. That's interesting. So you were raised by a single mother.
Yes, I was.
Okay. How did that like not loss, but in a way kind of is of not having your dad around in your childhood impact you growing up, of not having your dad like be fully present?
Okay, well, I would say having a one parent first of all, it's a strain on the parent, I believe. But as the child and being an only child, it caused me to find other ways of playing and doing those kind of things as a little girl and enjoying my space with myself. Um, and as I began to go to school and things like that, I began to see other children who had both parents, and I didn't realize when I was younger what impact that was on a child when they had to be raised with a single parent. Not knocking a single parent at all. All of my phone's going. I apologize there. All of my upbringing, you lean on other adults in the family to help raise the child. Back in the day, it used to be all the single kids and youth kids at all. A lot of the adults, were your parents. They were your parents back when I was growing up because there was no child kind of left behind, and everybody kind of put their 2 cents in. And then if you got in trouble by those other adults, when you got home, to expect that the reinforcements was going to be the same way when you got home. So the effects of me being an only child and being not raised with my father brought a lot of embarrassment to me. I would say probably when I was a little girl, because everybody else had their father and I thought something was wrong with me. And there wasn't anything wrong with me. It was just that the family dynamics was not the same as somebody else's family dynamics.
Mm.
That's a very good point to make. I was like, there's nothing wrong with me as a kid, you know.
Right.
There's nothing in your control when you're a child. You can't control your parents'
That is
relationships
correct.
with one another.
Right.
It's That's very true, how it can impact a child to feel like, oh, well, I'm the common denominator, therefore I must be the problem.
Right. Right.
So, getting into animals, when did you first start developing a connection with animals?
Well, I've always liked dogs and puppies. So that was, and then really I kind of start off liking cats, but I don't kind of do cats as much now as I like puppies. So my way of getting into puppies, I had a real good friend who had two puppies, and their name was Princess and PJ and Princess, and they were Maltese. So I had the opportunity to keep them 1 week, and one of them, of course, had puppies. So I had their puppies plus, the mom and dad. And I found out then that I really had a love for dogs. I didn't realize how much comfort they brought and how much love they brought, and it was always there. One thing about a dog, they love you, and you can talk and tell them anything, and it's kind of not going anywhere. So,
Mm-hmm. That's so true. They can you can yap all you want. They're not gonna really yap back at you.
that's
And they're not
correct.
gonna tell your business.
No, they're not.
I love that. That's so cool. Um, so did you have your own dogs when you were growing up?
We had dogs on it. At one point, I had my mom. We had a Doberman Pinscher at one time. We've had a German Shepherd at one time, and them the only two dogs that I've ever had growing up.
Okay. So getting into wanting to help women of faith with their trauma recovery, why did you want to involve dogs?
Well, what I found out is if you're dealing with any type of trauma, or anything that's kind of gone on in your past, that dogs and fur babies are very comforting. They're a very good tool in helping you with depression, anxiety, PTSD. If you've noticed, you found out that you have the opportunity to have them as support dogs, and not only that, if you train them correctly, they can be support dogs. So those are avenues that will help a woman of faith who have experienced trauma heal on their journey to wholeness. And that's what we all want, wholeness.
Hmm. So how did your own personal support system, your friends, your family, other professionals help you with your trauma?
Okay, well, what happened with me, I did go seek out a therapist. I spent some sessions with a therapist, and that began the journey of my healing. Being able to be around dogs and fur babies gave me the opportunity to really kind of calm and relax and work through all of my feelings and all of the things that I had experienced, to begin the journey of wholeness.
Hmm. I like how you put it, the journey of wholeness. What is wholeness to you?
Wholeness to me would be going from the traumatic part of the trauma, which means getting your mind together. A lot of times people don't understand when you've experienced trauma, one of the first persons you want to really kind of blame is yourself. And if you don't have the ability to walk through that and understand everything that happened to us, it's not something, everything that happened to us happened for us, meaning this: once we begin to heal and begin to really love ourselves for who we are created to be as women, we have the opportunity to help somebody else on their journey to walk through the journey of forgiveness, the journey of wholeness. And wholeness is in several different ways. That's not only in your self-esteem, your mindset, your emotions, your soul, and things that go on within your psyche, inside of your mind. What are you thinking about? Are you thinking about what happened to you all the time? Are you starting to have healthy thoughts on the past? Are you starting to enjoy the things of life again. Some people, when they go through trauma, they stay in the room, they go through a depression, they go through a time in their life, or a season in their life where they don't want to interact with other people. So when you've crossed those barriers and be able to walk into your wholeness, that I would consider as being, walking into wholeness, is when you are able to go from being depressed and staying in your room and eating all these crazy things, to going out and being around other people, and then begin to enjoy life again. Because sometimes you cut people off and you're stuck. And that's when I say you walk through your process of wholeness, because you begin to live again, you begin to strive, you begin to focus, you begin to walk through and do the things that women who are free and whole do, like going outside and being without other people, enjoying yourself, loving yourself, and admiring yourself, and being able to look in the mirror and say that you love yourself. Because I think that's important when you go through trauma. All that kind of seems to be lost, and you're focused in on the trauma itself versus your healing and who you are, and that you didn't cause the trauma.
That's so good. I like how you pointed out, like, being outside and doing things, not isolating yourself, because I I really resonate with that. When I was going through the worst times of my life, all I wanted to do was isolate myself, and I felt like I was such a burden. I was going through such a burden. I didn't want to be a burden to other people.
Right.
And I have a service dog, and her name is Gigi. And
Oh.
Gigi, you have to walk your dog outside every single day. So Gigi kind of enabled me to go outside, go to the dog park, and then people started talking to me. And so I started talking to people and opening up, and people would ask me questions about Gigi, and it was really good. And not only did I start to, make more friends, but I actually got to be there and support other people who needed me.
Right.
And it's so true that, when we're going through these hard times, we should do the opposite of what, like, our brains are telling us, of being like, oh, I'm like worthless. No, you're not. You're valuable. Oh, I need to like shut myself away. I'm a burden. No, you don't. You need to go outside and get embraced by someone, get help.
Yes, I agree.
Were there any specific individuals or groups that played a crucial role in your healing process?
Well, I would say first off, my friend Lauren, she was very inspirational to me. In the beginning of my trauma onset, she was one of the persons that I did call. And like I said, I was in Florida. So when I began to return home, she made sure she was there when I got to my house. And of course, she's the owner of the Princess and PJ, and they were there and they were comforting. So that was the beginning of my process of my healing, was my friend. And then also that I had went to therapy for a therapy session. So all those were steps in the right way, headed towards my wholeness, so yes.
Speaking on therapy, what type of therapy did you pursue? Like, did you pursue cognitive behavioral therapy or talk therapy?
I believe it was more of a talk therapy, a therapist that I went to. In the beginning, I just kind of just wanted to sit. So having a therapist was good. Having the right therapist is even better, and knowing that you are able to
We were talking about your therapist, and you were saying how it's really important to find a therapist that's the right fit for you.
yes, and finding the right therapist. A lot of people don't understand, if you look and see who's in your benefits for your insurance, you can find a list of therapists at that time, and really kind of knowing what kind of therapist that was going to work best for you. In my case, I really kind of didn't know, and many people probably don't know, but sitting down and figuring out, is it a therapist that you want to do in your local city? I mean, some people just don't want other people knowing their business. So You can find them in your network, in your insurance, and find who's in network. You probably can go out of town or maybe even out of state, depending on your insurance, and finding someone that's reputable, that's got receipts. And what I mean by that is people who have been tested, who have seen several patients or clients and have gotten results. And that means a lot when you're dealing with trauma of any kind. You know, one thing you don't want to do is get a therapist. They all have gone to school and gotten their degree, but still get a therapist that doesn't work for you. We need a therapist that will work for you and help you with the needs that you have in the journey that you're on.
That's very true. Yeah, one of the resources that I have is like BetterHelp, and I
Okay.
use BetterHelp. And one of my therapists that I got connected with, he was in Michigan, and he was an amazing practitioner. And then I had another therapist that was I live in Texas. I'm
Okay.
in the Colony, which is near Dallas. But my current therapist, she's in San Antonio. So she's a bit of a ways away from me, even though she's still in Texas. But it's really interesting. I like BetterHelp because you can use different therapists, and if one doesn't work for you, you can move on to the next one. I am not sponsored by BetterHelp, so
Sure.
putting that out there, but
Okay.
I think it's like a good resource.
Yeah, I've heard of them as well.
Connect. You can connect with a lot of different therapists, and I don't know. I really appreciated that, because when I was first looking into therapy, I didn't have any health insurance at all. And that was really hard. It was really, really hard because I couldn't figure out what to do, and I knew that I needed help, but I
Sure.
didn't know where to go to. So I think it's a good resource. And also for those of you that are like, oh, I don't know where to go for like a therapist, you can just Google therapist near me, and you will be able to find one. And if you're wanting to do like some in-depth research over the different types of therapies, there are so many different types of therapies other than just talk therapy, because sometimes people don't want to just talk. There's like somatic therapy, which is, your body work, trying to see where the pain is stored in your body. There's different types of healing. But I think for a lot of people, just finally verbalizing what is going on is
Right.
really beneficial, because what's going on up here, but until you actually verbalize it and talk about it, you can't really deny it anymore. You
Right.
can't just, it's almost like speaking it into existence of like, this is actually what happened to me. And then that's a really good way to start coping with it.
Right. It is.
What personal insights or lessons have you gained from your experience with family trauma?
Well, first of all, I would probably say that I learned that I had to work on me and begin to walk through the process of forgiving. And a lot of people say we need to forgive and we need to let things go. And that doesn't always come easy to everyone. Forgiving really is not about, it's not about you as much as, it's not about the individual as much as it is about you. And we're not saying that we agree with whatever that was happened. Yes, they need to be tried, they need to be go to court, they need to probably go to jail, whatever the case may be. But the forgiveness is about the individual. And when we learn to forgive not only ourselves, but the individual that committed the trauma to us, and I know it's hard, and I understand that, but forgiving the individual releases us to be able to walk free and begin our healing process to wholeness. Because you kind of look at it like, we all got extra 5 or 10 pounds we probably need to lose. Mine may be a little more, but we all have a little extra pounds we may want to lose, and that's extra weight. But once we lose the weight, then we don't feel as weighed down as we did before we had those extra pounds. So that's kind of like when we walk through forgiveness and we forgive that other person, it frees us to walk in the destiny and the purpose that I believe God has for each and every one of us. But we have to be able to walk through that. And I think what helped me and is helping me is beginning to understand how much God loved me, regardless of what has happened. And he forgave me of what I've done in my life. So I am required to forgive as well, regardless of how painful it is. But understanding the goal of that is to be able to release ourselves from what we have held in our minds, in our thought process. And once we can do that, it lifts the load off. It's like, I want to say, maybe not a good example, but losing weight and not actually carrying those extra pounds. And when we're not carrying those extra pounds, we move a little better, we feel a little better, we walk a little different, and we dress a little different. When we have lost weight and our body looks better to us. So that's kind of like I said before, is forgiving others so that we may walk free and alleviate the load of all the pressure that we have put ourselves under.
That's really interesting to, correlate forgiveness with, losing weight. It's very interesting because I used to be in jazz and ballet. I used to
Okay.
dance, and I used to exercise so much, and then I had a seizure and fell down a flight of stairs, and I could
Oh,
no
no.
longer dance anymore. And I gained a lot of weight, and I had a lot of, scar tissue around my legs, and because I was I could not walk. I was in a bed for 3 months. I could not move.
Wow. Wow.
And getting myself back into movement again and starting to release that stored trauma in my hip flexors, especially from, falling down and hurting so much scar tissue, has been such a heavy weight lifted off of me to be able to start running again, like
Yeah,
bringing animals back into it. I
sure.
take my dogs to the dog park every day for at least 2 hours, which I know sounds like a lot of time, but for me, it goes by so fast.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
And we wake up really early in the morning. We're there by like 7:30, and we're there till 9, sometimes 10. And it's it's so helpful to run with these dogs and play with them. And I don't only just play with my dogs, I'm playing with all the dogs. I am that person that's like running with all the dogs, throwing all the balls with all the dogs. It's so helpful. And I noticed that I'm not running out of breath as much as I used to. And
Oh,
I'm
that's good.
noticing that, oh my goodness, I feel healthier. Not necessarily that I'm losing weight, but that
Yeah.
I'm gaining muscle again, the muscle that I used to have
Mhm.
that really propelled me to, move. I'm finally getting that muscle back. And if I was to correlate forgiveness to, something, I would probably say, like, you need to forgive so that you can continue forward, because, like, focusing on our past, yes, can be helpful at times so that we can let go of resentment,
Mhm.
but focusing on the present is so much more beneficial. Um, my Mimi, is my grandmother, said to me one time, she was like, if you got a foot in the past and a foot in the future, you're peeing on the present. I was like, oh my goodness. And
Wow.
she's like, you're not paying attention to what you should be doing right here and right now. And, you know, the present is a gift. Think of it like presence. It's a gift. You need to acknowledge where you are right now and be grateful for it, because it could all be taken away in an instant. And that really became very evident once I lost both my grandfathers and my dad within a year. That was
Oh,
very devastating. But now I have to work through forgiving myself for holding on to that anger because that anger was just holding me back.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced during your healing process?
Wow. Well, I guess some of my biggest challenges would have been, it's always been me forgiving myself. But the biggest challenge would be seeing myself whole again, seeing myself not damaged. I mean, things have gone on in the trauma, but I'm still here. And the challenge would be to focus and keep moving, um, and not only keep moving, but allow myself to find the right positive things, the positive outcomes that I would like to see in my life, versus, like you said, looking back or staying in the back and looking in the, I refer to as looking in the rear view mirror. So if you're always looking in the rear view mirror, you're going to have an accident. We can't do that. The rear view mirror is what it's for, to see in the rear, but it's not for us to focus on. It's for us to stay focused. And not only that, as I like horses, so the Kentucky Derby. So it's like, if they didn't have the blinders on, the horses would be in everybody else's leg and it would be chaos. So we have to be able to put the blinders on, focus in on what it is that we want to see in our destiny and our purpose that we believe that we have, and focus on that. That's the challenge. Focusing on what's and moving forward and not looking back. That would be the challenge.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. I like that so much. Do you have any pets right now?
No, I do not. I live in an apartment, so I thought it would be unselfish or selfish to bring a dog into my space, which is what's not big enough to me, I don't think, for a dog. So I currently don't have a dog, but I like golden doodles and cavapoos. So who knows, when I move, look out.
I get that. I get that.
Look
Oh my
out.
goodness. Have all the dogs. Oh my goodness. That's so cool. So talking about your business,
Mhm.
pause,
Positive.
Pawsative
Yeah.
Partnerships. Tell me about why you started that business and going into more depth of how you involve the therapy dogs.
Okay, well, originally my business was called K Doodle Pup Shop. And I later realized that I wanted to incorporate women of faith, like I said before, women of faith that experience trauma, and by using dogs and fur babies as a healing tool. So to incorporate that, I went with pause, as you get it, pause, positive, with a positive attitude that would come alongside with having dogs and fur babies in women's life that, of course, like dogs and fur babies. I don't know who wouldn't, but anyways, those that like dogs and fur babies, and understanding that we incorporating them both together will cause them not only have enjoyment and fulfillment, but it will cause them to walk in the destiny and the purpose that I believe God has for all of us. And then it's the healing process. So why not have something that you can have as a dog that will be comforting, that's going to help you through your anxiety, your depression, your trauma. Not saying it is a all fix all, but it will help you and guide you. And like you said earlier, there's things you got to do. You got to take them out. You got to feed them, and they want to do things. So it gets you out the house. It gives you mobility. It gives you the opportunity to walk and do some things and meet other people, like you said previously. So being able to do those things, I wanted to make sure that I created a safe place, because dealing with trauma, ladies need to feel safe and know that they're in a safe place. And who not to be able to do that by someone who have experienced trauma and understand a lot of the different feelings that you go through when you deal with trauma. So
That's very true also, that women need to feel safe. My Gigi, who is my service dog, which I'm gonna pan over real quick to my dogs. Oh, there they are. Then we're gonna point
Yay, where
it
they go?
down. Oh, 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 oh. There they are.
Oh, look.
Yes,
So
so
what kind of dogs are they? I can't tell from the pan.
so Mochi is my speckled one. She is a blue heeler and Australian Shepherd mix. And
Okay.
then Gigi is laying down beside her. Gigi is a golden retriever. So
All
Gigi
right.
is my service dog.
Okay.
And Gigi's a seizure alert service dog. And
Okay.
she actually went to college with me and graduated with
All
me.
right.
So she's amazing. I love her so very much. Um, Gigi has been there for me for everything, it seems, thick and thin. She's almost 8 years old. So I've
Wow.
had her since she was 16 weeks. And I could go on and on about Gigi, but the way that she was trained is to sense cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone, whenever my
Yeah.
cortisol levels are high, because
Mhm.
that would trigger a seizure for me. And since she was trained,
Mhm.
if she doesn't have her vest on, especially at the dog park, she can tell when someone else is really stressed out, and she immediately goes to them and sits with them and will not let them stop petting her until they have calmed down. And then she moves on to the next person. And
Oh.
she's so good. She's so precious. And I'm very glad that I had her in college because she did keep me safe a lot of the times whenever I was walking outside.
Mhm.
It was not a safe neighborhood that I lived in because it was cheap. You know, I couldn't
Yeah.
afford much as a college student.
Yeah, I hear you.
But yeah, it was so expensive. But she kept me safe
Yeah.
like several times. I remember one time I was walking my dogs and there were two guys behind me and they were trying to talk to me, and Gigi did not like that and she turned around and started chasing them. Like she pulled out of her vest and chased them away, and she came right back and she's like, okay, let's go home. And she's like kind of pulling me to keep going home, not pulling me to pull my arm off, but she was like,
Sure.
come on, we got to go home, it's not safe. She's been instrumental in my healing journey
That's
and
good.
keeping me safe, because dogs not only provide emotional support to us, but also can keep us safe. And I'm very glad that I have Gigi and Mochi.
Oh. I am sure you are glad about Gigi and Mochi. They look like they're getting some rest, but they are paying attention that you right there.
They're sleepy, sleepy babies. I take them on walks multiple times a day.
Mhm.
Right before this interview, it's pretty hot here in Texas. I think it's about 105 degrees outside.
Oh my
But
goodness.
I took them on a 15-minute walk, like a little over half a mile,
Mhm.
so that they would be tired and wouldn't be playing while we were
Yeah.
doing this episode. What advice would you give to others who are currently dealing with trauma?
Well, I would say first of all, that I apologize and by saying that you had to go through what you went through. Um, a lot of people say they understand. I truly understand because I've experienced trauma, but I also would like to encourage them or you to be able to forgive themselves. And that's not something that you can do right away. But I believe that if you spend time on positive things and finding things, excuse me, finding things that are calming for me, which like jazz music, instrumental music, listen to the ocean, and try to relax as much as possible. But finding the right people that you can actually talk to and they're actually listening. And when I say that, I mean they're not thinking about things to say to you when you're finished, because that's not listening. But when they're listening with the intent of hearing your heart and hearing how you feel, and there to find out what it is, they can help you to get to the healing that you deserve. And then not only that, seeking out professional therapists, reputable therapists in your area or out of your area, even if it's just a phone call interview or a video, Zoom, because you can do those things now. and being able to do that, but know that you are not damaged goods, that you are important, that you have a purpose in life. We need you. I need you. You are loved. I love you. And I just want you to have the best that you can have and not walk in freedom, because you can't have that. That'll be it.
Mm. What are some resources or practices that you would recommend to those seeking healing?
Resources. Well, like I said before, resources would be going to your insurance and seeing what your benefits are. Googling therapists, but I would probably see who is in your network of therapists that you can get with, getting with groups that are doing healing process. And I don't know if I want to say healing process, but getting in groups and getting around people, positive people, not allowing yourself to be isolated. Force yourself to get out of being isolated and get in rooms or around people and go places. I used to go just sit and look at the water at the reservoir, or just drive and just kind of relax, as much as possible. But that didn't come in the very beginning, but it does come. Resources would be going to church, finding you a church that has classes or has a program that they have that you can get in, or get with some people within the church that can help you, support you. Support is huge, and unfortunately, it doesn't always come from your family members. They mean well, but it always doesn't come from your family members, because they don't always understand, and they see you who you are and not what has happened to you, and understanding that you need to have healing. And then, of course, if it was family members, they really not going to think be as compassionate as you think they should be, because everybody think they're compassionate and they're there for you, but it's not always true, because it's what the individual is really actually seeking, for compassion and for help. It's not always, those two are not always the same. So that would be some of the resources that I would suggest, as well as, I have some ebooks that, they can get as well to help them to start the process, some tools. But other than that, that would be the beginning of the resource: forgiving themselves, loving themselves, getting up in the morning, looking in the mirror, and doing affirmations and speaking positive things over yourself, because you're important.
That's so sweet. You are important.
Yes, you are.
That's so true.
Everybody is important. You are enough.
Mhm. How do you continue to maintain your mental and emotional health today?
I have begun to figure out that when I need my mental space, my mental time, and I do that, like I said, I like to listen to instrumental music. I sit and I give myself some time for me. Some of us are able to just do everything and want to do everything for everybody. But there comes a point where you've given out and you've not replenished. And when you've given out, you're on empty. And when you're on empty, then you're no help for anybody else. So I practice reading my word, of course. Also, like I said, instrumental music, worship music. I go outside, may take a walk, which I need to do more of, but I'll get in the car and I'll just ride, because I like to ride. Riding is relaxing to me. Playing music, listening to waterfalls, looking at the water in the ocean or whatever, and just relaxing. Relaxing helps me. My mentalness, when I feel in the beginning, I was feeling overwhelmed and I would feel different ways. And when it came down to the trauma that I experienced, I had to really kind of balance it. And it's kind of I won't say balancing trick, but it takes work, because your mental wants to take over and to recall. That's what our brains do. We recall, to remember. So, and we have to, when those memories come, then we have to do positive things or do affirmations that counteract the mental thoughts that we have. And then we can begin to keep doing that. You start doing it's not easy, but when you continue to do that, it helps. and it relaxes you and it gets you on a different frame of mind, and you're ready to move forward in your day.
That's cool. That is cool. So I was just like taking it all in. I appreciate it. Oh
You
my
got a
goodness.
talker.
I love it, honestly. It helps me out a lot because I am also a talker. I'm working on my listening. And when I'm like fully listening, I'm just like, yes. And I don't talk at all. And I don't know. I'm learning to appreciate that about myself, about, growing into that, of
Yeah,
just listening and
right.
smiling and being present. That's
And it's
something,
important.
it
And that
is
is
so
really
important.
important. Yeah,
It's something that has been a recent development,
that's good.
and I'm appreciative of it now. My Mimi, my grandmother, um, she looked at me one time when she was telling me something, and I was like, okay, yes, ma'am. She's like, you're paying attention. I was like, yes, ma'am. She's like, that is not like you. I was like, okay. Well, I'm growing up, and she's like, must be.
Well, that's good.
Mhm.
Growth is definitely good.
It is good. What are your hopes and aspirations for the future in terms of personal growth and healing?
Well, my personal growth, I would say that I want to get to the point where I'm going through the healing process still, but I want to get to the point where I am free to say whatever I need to say that happened in the past. And I think I'm there now. But I would like to be able to talk to more women who've experienced trauma and help them on their journey as well. And then be able, because we need more than just conversation. There may be other things that they may need. I mean, whether it's something, I don't know, financially, whether it's something, you need to go out to eat, whatever the case may be. Because I don't think we as women, some do, but those who have experienced trauma, I don't think we take the best care of ourselves as we should. And when I say best care, I'm talking about, you was talking about exercising until you take the dogs out and now those kind of things. But I'm talking about going out and getting those pedicures and manicures and doing all the things, and having some relaxation time. Those are important as well. Massages. I don't know. I have never had a massage, so that's one thing I probably would start trying to do is go and get, a nice massage, and continue with the pedicures and the manicures because those are enjoyment things. But most of all, I want to be able to have a facility, work somewhere where, not work somewhere, but have somewhere where women can come and get their needs met, regardless of what it is. When it comes down to healing, the healing process, like I said, it may be clothing, it may be food, whatever it may be, but we want to make sure that we are building the women of faith up to be all that they can be. That would be one of my goals.
Yeah, that's an amazing goal. I love that. Yeah, self-care is so important because once you've reached the point of healing a lot of yourself and you're finally able to do all the normal things like showing yourself compassion and understanding and empathy, and then you want to not spoil yourself but start to show yourself the love that you deserve.
Right.
And I so appreciate you mentioning that because that's something that my fiance has been mentioning to me. He's like, when was the last time you went shopping? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, not for groceries, but like actually got yourself new
Yeah.
clothes.
Right.
I was like, I don't know. He's like, we've been together 3 years. I've never seen you buy clothes. And I was like, is that wrong? He's like, yeah, that's wrong. When was the last time you went to go buy yourself some new
That's
clothes?
important.
He's like, I just went to the store the other day and I bought myself some new t-shirts. And I was noticing all your t-shirts are all worn out. And I was like, well, I can go to a thrift store. He's like, no, you don't just need to go to the thrift store. I have money. Let's
Yeah.
go get you some clothes. And that was crazy. I don't know. That was something I did not expect. Not that he doesn't take care of me, but that oh, I need to buy myself new clothes because my clothes are all worn out because I wear them. He
Yeah.
was like, you have like 12 t-shirts that you wear, all 12 of your t-shirts all throughout. And he's like, you need more than just t-shirts and shorts. You
Mhm.
need to have a dress. You need to have maybe some new pants. Like, sir, where did you come from? It's like, I don't know.
Well, that's good.
It is
Yeah,
good,
that's real good. Because we need
but
to take care of ourselves. We need to do the things that's enjoyable. And I say that, and I'm not always doing that, I have not always done that. But those are things that are important. We need to do things, go out and buy us some. I mean, there are some women that shop all the time, and then you got some women that don't shop at all. And I don't think I'm one of them.
mm-hmm.
But when I do, I do. So
Yeah, and one of my best friends, because my wedding is in April, and one of my best friends is like, okay, we need to start getting stuff for your wedding. I'm like, we have to buy things for the wedding. She's like, yes, we have to buy things for the wedding.
yeah.
And she took me to the store and we bought a couple things, and I came home and he thanked my friend for taking me to the store. He's like, thank you for actually taking her out to do some girly things. I really appreciate that. She needs to do girly things. Like, yes. I don't know. The podcast purpose is to identify trauma and how we can help heal ourselves and heal others. And the saying of the podcast is trauma is not who you are, it's what you went through. Thinking of that saying, that trauma is not who you are, it's what you went through, how do you transmute your pain into purpose?
Well, I transmute my pain into purpose by encouraging other ladies of faith, allowing them to understand or encouraging them to understand that they have a purpose and they have a destiny, and understanding that they are enough. And also being able to relate and be relatable um, is how I transmute that. Understanding that what happened to me was not me. That's not me. I didn't do that. It happened to me and it was not my fault. Therefore, since it was not my fault and I have walked through that and I understand that I can help somebody else. Because our trauma and things that happen to us, they happen for us. Not saying that they was for us to happen to us. I mean, I'm saying that when something has happened to us, regardless of what it is, right now we're talking about trauma, we weigh it and we understand that didn't happen. I didn't do that. That wasn't my fault. And so since those things, I had to grow and mature and grow up and learn and grow and do the things I needed to do when it came down to me walking through trauma. But now, since I've walked through trauma and walking through trauma, I am able to help other ladies that have experienced that and on their beginning of their journey, and just encourage them so they can know, they understand they got somebody else that's experienced the same similar thing. It may not have been the exact same trauma, but trauma is trauma pretty much.
And the way our bodies react to trauma is very similar, no matter the type of trauma.
Right.
It's very true. Animals can help trauma survivors in so many different ways, but some of the ways are emotional support, stress reduction, providing a routine and responsibility, physical activity, a non-judgmental presence, and sometimes therapeutic interventions. Animal assisted therapy, which is kind of what you do, involving animals can help people facilitate emotional expression and healing, because a lot of times we're going through trauma, we bottle it all up.
Yeah.
Animals won't let you bottle things up. They will love on you, and you can't help but like have joy or that comforting presence, that pressure on your chest of when a dog comes and lays on top of you when you're cuddling with your dog can release so much. And it's amazing what you're doing in your community and also helping so many people understand their trauma and recover from their trauma and move forward from their trauma. It's amazing. It really is.
Thank you.
Speaking directly to our listeners, if you're like, look at them in the face right now, what would you tell them about themselves? How would you speak to them if they're not feeling too good about themselves today?
Well, I would say, hey, sis, listen, you are enough. You are important. You are created to be who you are. I need you. We need you. Don't you ever stop. You keep moving. You move forward. There are plans. Your steps are ordered by God. Yes. And you have plans to do. You have things to do. So get up, girl. Get going. Keep moving. Don't stop. It's your girl, Karlonty.
Okay, Carlotta. I really appreciate you being on the podcast.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you sharing your journey to wholeness. Oh my goodness, it's so inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure. It's been an honor.
If you're watching us over on YouTube, here are our memes of the week, carefully curated by those amazing people. Hi, over on our Discord server. Now let's get into those memes. At the end of every episode, we spin our wheel of emotions to learn a new feeling and how it correlates to trauma. And I know that I'm very zoomed out if you're watching us on YouTube. I just wanted to show Gigi. She's always right by my feet since this is about dogs, this episode. So there's Gigi. She's down there. All right, we'll say bye, Gigi. We're going to zoom in now. Do. Hi. Okay, let's spin this wheel. Ooh. Guilty, remorseful, ashamed. When it comes to trauma, we often have very big reactions to certain things, or we can be very avoidant when we are going through trauma and we don't want to burden other people. And both ends of the scale can make us feel very guilty about how we're dealing with our sadness. I have one of my dear friends, and she's going through a lot right now, and she's choosing to distance herself from friendship activities. We're still friends, but she wants to be alone when she's going through it. And she's told me several times that she always feels so guilty about it because she knows it's what is probably good for her. And she knows if she did hang out with people, she'd lash out at them. So she knows it's probably good, but she feels guilty because she can't participate in friendship things like going out and seeing us and hanging out. And it's really hard. It's really hard to figure out what is best for you when you're going through tough times. And often we feel guilty because we don't want to be left out. We don't want to really push people away. We want to be loved and embraced. But sometimes we really just have to let it go. Guilt, remorse, shame, those are all emotions that you do need, that we do need to hold ourselves accountable for things if we ever do them, wrong. Like, say, if we hurt someone's feelings, we need to be able to feel guilt and shame and remorse. right? That's the only way that we can rectify the situation and move forward. But if you are feeling guilty about things out of your control and you've already apologized, that's when it's time we got to let it go. Okay? There's no use sitting in shame. There's no use. It's not going to do you any good. It's actually going to hurt you a lot more. I want to invite you guys to join our Discord. And if you're already on the Discord, hi. On our Discord, we have anonymous, free confessions. You can talk to people. It's peer support. It's amazing. I really love the Discord. There's over 300 members on there. It's all anonymous. You just talk to people, and it's really, really helpful. Okay, so I want to invite you to join if you feel so inclined. Remember, you are capable of an amazing life. You are, okay? You are capable of healing beyond your wildest dreams. All right? You're going to do it. You're going to get through it. And you are capable of a fulfilling life in spite of your circumstances and your trauma, okay? May you rise again from the ashes and be filled with peace, hope, love, joy, and understanding. I'll see you guys in the next episode, episode 60. I'll see you guys then. All right? Take care of yourself. You deserve it. Goodbye.